Thomas, whenever you're ready, feel free.
Who here in this room has seen this knife in person before? Please just raise your hands if you have. Okay, do any of you know what it's called? The original name is called Balisong, but the American name is called the butterfly knife. Now, this seems like an extremely awkward knife, but in the right hands, it can be opened very gracefully. Now, I'm going to be talking about where the knife came from, how to use the knife safely, and one of the tricks how to open it, because there are many, many, many ways to open this knife. But first, let me start with safety. On this knife, there's this latch here. It keeps the knife from coming open unwantedly, like in your pocket or whenever you're just with friends. Now, also on this knife, if you notice here, only one side of the blade is sharp, the other side is not. Now, this can come in handy with certain tricks, opening it not to cut your finger, which I'll get back to later. Also, I would suggest when starting out with the knife, you do not get an extremely sharp one, because you can end up cutting yourself while performing tricks with this knife. Now, I'm going to be showing you one of the tricks. It's called the rollover. Now, I mentioned how one side of the knife wasn't sharp, this side here. This can be used for this trick. Now, this is what the trick looks like. To do this, you use the dull side. You make sure it's not facing here, so when you throw it open, the dull side is here. You flick your wrist back to throw it open, you extend your pointer finger here, and then you flick your wrist back, almost like a scissor motion, onto your pointer. But don't worry about cutting yourself because the dull side is on your finger. Now when you flip it, you get your thumb here, and you rotate it to the back. And then you do the same motion again, but this time the handle will come all the way around and will land in your hand like a dart. So to do this again, it'll look like this. Flip your wrist back, extend pointer finger, flip back, making sure the dull part is on your pointer so not to cut yourself. Putting your thumb behind the handle, repeating the process, but this time catching it. It'll take practice not to drop it, because I've dropped it many times, but this knife is tough, so it won't break. Now, it looks like this when you get the hang of it, and it can also be done to close it as well. So, it's open, and then you can do it again to close it, but make sure the sharp part doesn't hit your hand. Dull part on my middle finger, handle here, and it's closed. Now, I would like to talk about the history of the knife. And if you would like to, while I talk about the history of this knife, you can come up and look at it, but I ask you don't pick it up and play with it. So if you'd all like to come up and see it, you can. This knife was originally from the Philippines. The name Balisong, we're not 100% sure what it means, but when it came to the US, it took up the name butterfly knife. We're not 100% sure when this knife was made either, but it was mentioned in a French book in 1765. That's the earliest record we have of it. This knife in the Philippines was used in gangs for self-defense, but also it was used for shaving as well. Like a switchblade, it is illegal to carry around in cities due to gang violence. Many cities outlawed it to try and stem the violence, but not many gangs use it today. Though this knife is fun and looks cool, I want to stress the importance. It is still a weapon, and it is important to be safe. I got this knife when I was about 12, and I treated it as a toy instead of a weapon, and I cut myself many, many times playing with it. So I ask that if you would just be careful when using it. If you ever get a hold of one, please do so. And that is the knife. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.